Every single year when we read Parshas Vayeitzei, I'm amazed. I'm mamish amazed and baffled. I have a question every single time I read Rashi. Before I get to that question, I just want to welcome you back right here on Torah Anytime. If you're listening to this on a podcast, on the Torah Sparks podcast, or watching this on Baltimore Jewish Life or YouTube, that's awesome. So the question I've always had, and when I say always, I don't actually mean like always from the beginning of time, because hey, I wasn't around since the beginning of time. But, since I started reading Rashi and Chumash Rashi, getting a little bit more comfortable reading it and like noticing some discrepancies between what Rashi says and the source of where he's getting it from. And I'll give you an example. You see in our Parshas Vayeitzei, so there's a lot of talk about stones. Like if there's one Parsha that's all stoned out, it's Parshas Vayeitzei. Stones here, stones there, stones are everywhere. I mean, probably over about 10 times or so. The Torah tells us in this week's Parsha Alain about stones, about Avanim, event. And the first episode of the stones is when Yaakov Avinu he gathers a whole bunch of stones together, 12 to be exact, corresponding to the 12 Shvatim, which he would be the father of. And we know what happens. A miracle takes place, and the stones turn and become one. And it's really a Gemara. Rashi's quoting from the Gemara, but Rashi deviates. You see, the Gemara tells us that Vayosamer Hashosav, he put them under his head, and it became one. Hashem made it one. Each stone said, right, they were arguing with each other. There was a mariva, an argument between stones, because stones could talk. Right? Right, I know. So the stones were arguing, and this one said, Allah yaniach tzaddik es roshai. And this one said, no, Allah yaniach. So every stone said, no, Allah yaniach, the tzaddik should rest on me. So that's what you will take out when you read the Gemara. Allah yaniach tzaddik zeh rosha, that the tzaddik should rest on me. But if you look at Rashi says zoisei meres. This one says Allah yaniach tzaddik es rosho, and then Rashi says zoisei meres, but this one says Allah yaniach. Period. Do you see what's going on? So the first stone says Allah yaniach tzaddik es rosho, that the tzaddik's head should rest on me. And the second stone says, Allah yaniach, period. He just says he should rest on me. He doesn't say tzaddik es rosho. Now, quick reading of the Rashi, maybe we'll miss that. But if we're trying to understand, every single word and letter that Rashi used was calculated. So why did Rashi deviate from the Gemara and say almost his own vart? He said that the second stone said, Allah yaniach. What's the idea? I came across the Sefer Lahoros Nasan this year. And the Sefer Lahoros Nasan says that, because it was only the first stone that said, Allah yaniach tzaddik es rosho. The first one was doing it l'shem shemaim. He was all pumped and excited. Wow, the tzaddik, the righteous one, should rest its head on me. But the second one and on, all they said was Allah yaniach. It saw the first one of, oh, that looks kishmach, that looks great. Allah yanich, let it rest on me too. But it wasn't done l'shem shemaim like the first one. The first one was mamish done l'shem shemaim, that the tzaddik should rest his head on me. The second one and on was just Allah yanich. It shows you a power of being the nachshon. It shows you the power of being the first stone, of jumping in. Doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. I'm going to do what I'm doing. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. There's a powerful lesson in that. But I just want to bring out, either way, whether it's the first stone, the second stone, the third stone, all of them said at least the first two words, Allah yaniach, let him rest on me. And I was thinking, when it comes to us, it's such an important idea that we have to realize that we're ra'oi for the Shekhinah to dwell amongst us. We are a kli that's machzik bracha. We are a vessel that contains and is meant to contain and overflow with holiness, because inside every single one of us is a neshama, is a chelek elokam al mamish, is a panim that's kulo kadosh, is a kodesh kadashim. And every single one of us is ra'oi to say, Allah yaniach, let the holiness rest upon me. Let the Shekhinah rest upon me. See, a stone was able to get to the level where it realized, Allah yaniach, that I can house the Shekhinah, that I could be a conduit for divine blessing, that I could be a kli that's machzik bracha and Kedusha. And if a stone can do it, if a stone can say, Allah yaniach, how incumbent is it upon us to be able to proudly say, Allah yaniach, let the holiness rest upon me. Let me bring it out. I'm a Yid at the end of the day. Allah yaniach is Gematria 188, which is the same as Yaakov written Malay. You see, everywhere Yaakov's name is written in the Torah, it's written Yud Ayin Kuf Beis. But there's one place, at least in the Torah, in Vayikra, it's written Malay, it's written with a Vav, Yud Ayin Kuf Vav Beis. And Rashi points out that Eliyahu and Yaakov have this quote-unquote relationship where they're lending each other letters. And Yaakov gets this letter. He gets this Vav. He gets this Vav from Eliyahu Navi, and it's as if it's saying that Eliyahu, you're going to come back and you're going to be mevaser. You're going to give the good tidings, the good news that the Geula is here. You're going to give it. And that's the full shlemistic name of Yaakov, is with a Vav, because it represents the ultimate time at the end of days when Mashiach will be heralded in. We have to realize Yaakov, written Malay, it's the same as Allah Yaniach. We, in our generation today, are ready for the Mashiach to come. This Mir Hashem will be in our generation that Mashiach can come. And it's upon every single one of us, given our unique set of strengths, kochos, and weaknesses for that matter, life experiences. Each of us can say, Allah yaniach, let it be on me. Let me experience that Kedusha. Let me be around to experience that Mevaser Taiva. Let me be here I'm ready to greet Mashiach because he can come in my generation. And we hope that that will be the case. Important to say, Allah yaniach, Allah yaniach. I mentioned that this is the Parsha of the stones, and there's so many stones in this week's Parsha. And I was thinking about the famous Chinese folk tale. There's a famous Chinese folk tale about a stone, specifically about a stonecutter. It's a marvelous story. And there was a stonecutter who would spend his days, spend his hours, spend his years, he would spend his life chiseling away at a stone. And feelings of depression started to come upon him. He was looking around and he thought maybe he could do better. And one day he was walking and he passed by a merchant's home, and it was a wealthy merchant. And he thought, how powerful is that merchant? He had this deep envy and this deep desire to become that merchant, to become that wealthy man. And all of a sudden his wish came true and he became a merchant instantaneously. And he felt powerful. He felt on top of the world. He had people working for him, and he was living on high. Until one day, he saw out the window, he saw a very, very fancy chariot carrying a king. And he looked outside, and there was a whole row. There was horses and people following him. The king was decked out in robe and garb and all that he had. And he thought, wow, how powerful is that king? I wish I could be that king. And instantaneously, poof, he became that king, and he had the horses in front of him and the guards and the servants, and he was living life. He had the garb and all, and he's like, wow, what's more powerful than me? And then as he was along his procession as this king, he started to squint. His eyes were getting all squinty because the sun was beating down, and he looked at the sun, and he barely could look at it. He's like, wow, the sun is more powerful than me. I wish I could be the sun. And instantaneously, he became a sun, a beacon of light that shed light onto the world. And wow, he was living life on high. What's more powerful than me? And all of a sudden, a big dark storm, a cloud came and positioned itself right in front of him. And he couldn't shine forth. His rays were trying to go down, but they were just being blocked by the cloud. And he said, no, that can't be. It must be. The cloud is more powerful than me. I want to be a big, dark cloud. And instantaneously became a big, dark cloud. And all of a sudden, as he became a dark cloud, he was about to feel on top of the world, and a huge wind gust came and pushed him away. He's like, whoa, who did that? That was the wind? That's crazy. That's more powerful than me as a cloud. I want to be that wind. And instantaneously, he became a wind. And he was so powerful, the people hated him. He would destroy trees and branches, and the rooftops would start to break, and because of his power of being the wind. And all of a sudden, he noticed that there was one thing that wasn't moving. that wasn't moving from him, from the wind. You know what it was? It was a big rock. There was a big rock. It wouldn't budge. It wouldn't move. And he said, you know what? I want to be that rock. It's more powerful than me. And sure enough, instantaneously, he became that rock. And he said, wow, I'm strong. I'm the most powerful of them all. And all of a sudden, one day, he started feeling a beating. He started, something's poking me. What's going on? And he looks around, and there's a little man, a stonecutter, chiseling away on him, on the big rock. And he said, this is crazy. I don't want to be a rock. I want to be that stonecutter. And he realized, wait a second. That's who he was. That's what he was all along. That's what he initially was. You see, he was looking out of himself. He was looking out of his peripherals, and he saw this as powerful and this as powerful, and he failed to believe and to see that he himself had those great kochos. He failed to see that he himself had that great power. He failed to see that he himself was the stonecutter. He was the most powerful of them all. You know, as it relates to, in the middle of the parsha, Yaakov Avinu, he comes and he sees a bunch of people gathered around a big stone. And he says, what's going on? Why are you guys all gathered around this stone? And they said, you know, not everybody's here to help us out. It's too heavy. We need everybody. We need coal. We need all the people to help us move the stone off the well so we could, you know, feed our animals. And Yaakov said, oh, come on. And he just rolled it off himself. And Rashi says, lo dia koicha. We see his great strength that he had. He didn't wait for others. He didn't look around him. He wasn't envious of all the other things that were potentially more powerful than him, but he looked within. He saw his own kochos. Lo dia kocho. He made it known to us, his kayach, because he knew his kayach. Lo dia kocho, it was the fact that he knew it himself. That's why he was able to teach it to us. Do we know what our kayach is? Do we know that we're capable of saying Alai Aniach? Do we know that we're capable of connecting to Yaakov, the written Malay? That we're capable of being the ones to herald in the Mashiach? Do we realize that? When we're chiseling away each and every moment of our life and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, Torah, mitzvos, Avas Hashem, Yiras Hashem, Tefillah, Tzedakah, Shmir Sinayim, Tznius, all the little things that we're doing, chiseling away, we're working hard. There's other powerful forces out there, but we're the most powerful forces. We're the ones who chisel away at the stone. Chazal tell us that the stone is a reference to the Yetzer Hara. The stone is the Yetzer Hara, and yeah, on some level, we're a stone cutter. We're that chiseler. We can chisel away at it. And it's an amazing thing to realize what can become, who we are, what we have inside. Are we willing to say, like the stone itself said, Allah Yaniach? Are we willing to ask ourselves that question, Allah Yaniach? Are we making ourselves susceptible to Kedusha? May we be zocheh to do that. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. And if you appreciate these videos, please go ahead and like, subscribe. If you're on Torah Anytime, to click on follow. That way you get an email notification every time we put out a new shiur. And please, if you wouldn't mind sharing this class with 1, 2, 3 of your friends, family, neighbors, that would mean a lot. If you haven't picked up a copy yet of Dovetails, it's a book on Hanukkah that I was zocheh to write. It's now available on Amazon. You could check it up by Dovetails. You could look it up by my name or Yistram. It would mean the world if you go ahead and get that. If you happen to be in Baltimore, there's a new exciting kollel, a night kollel opportunity at Rabbi Goldberger's shul. So go ahead, reach out for details. It's a very exciting opportunity. They have generous stipends, and it's learning mashlibo chavetz, what you want at night. After at 8:45 Marv, there'll be a Seder Limud from 9 to 10 nightly with a generous stipend. And go ahead, please feel free to reach out to inquire more. Until then, wishing you an amazing rest of your day and have a beautiful Shabbos. And Mir Hashem, we'll see you next time.